So much of what we're told about building habits is wrong. It's not about mustering more willpower. It's not about summoning motivation. It's not even about wanting it badly enough. That story is misleading, and that story is what breaks people. Because when your willpower fades, as it always does, you're left feeling like you've failed. You're left believing you're the problem. That you're not strong enough, not committed enough, not driven enough. That's the myth. And we're going to dismantle it today. The truth is, willpower is a finite resource. It's a burst of energy. It's like sprinting. You cannot sprint a marathon, and building consistent habits, the kind that last for years, the kind that build empires and bodies and fortunes, is not a sprint. It's a slow, steady, relentless march. And you don't march on willpower. You march on something far more durable. You march on systems. Think of the most reliable things in your life. The sun rising, gravity holding you to the ground, the tide coming in. These things are not a matter of effort. They are a matter of design. They follow laws. They operate within systems. Your habits must be the same. They must become as reliable as gravity. And that reliability comes not from you forcing it every single day, but from you building an architecture that makes the right action the default action. The path of least resistance. That is the invisible work. The work that happens offstage. Before the performance begins, success is often seen as a moment, a breakthrough, a victory, a finish line crossed. But that moment is merely the visible peak of a mountain built layer by layer in the dark. It is the final brick placed on a foundation that was poured months, years, even decades earlier. The invisible work is the work of preparation. It is the calibration of the machine when no one is watching. It is the sharpening of the blade long before the battle. It is the conditioning of the mind and body for a test whose date you do not know. This is the critical insight. That preparation, when done correctly, doesn't just meet opportunity. It creates it. It manufactures the very moment we call luck. You are not waiting for a chance to prove yourself. You are building each day the precise set of conditions that will make success inevitable when the world finally looks your way. It is not a lottery. It is a law, the law of preparedness, which states that the quality of your outcome is predetermined by the quality of your preparation. The moment of performance is simply a revelation. It reveals what you have built or what you have failed to build. In the quiet, there is no hiding from it. Pressure does not build character. Pressure reveals character. It reveals your patterns. It strips away the facade and shows you what you have actually practiced, what you have actually ingrained. Consider two examples. First, an athlete. They train for thousands of hours. They drill the same movement until it is encoded in their muscles, in their nervous system. Then, in the final moments of a championship game, the crowd is roaring, the clock is ticking down, the pressure is immense. They don't think, they don't summon willpower, they execute. The ball leaves their hands in a perfect arc and finds the net. That shot was not made in that moment. That shot was made in the silent, empty gym, morning after morning. The pressure of the game simply revealed the pattern they had built in the dark. Second, a leader. A crisis hits their company, markets tumble, a critical product fails, panic is a live wire in the air. How they respond in that meeting room will determine the fate of the business and everyone in it. If they react with blame, with fear, with short-term panic, they reveal a pattern of insecurity, of reactivity. If they respond with calm, with questions, with a focus on solutions, they reveal a different pattern, a pattern of poise. And that poise was not created in the crisis. It was created in the thousand small moments before it. In how they prepared for meetings when things were easy. In how they treated people when there was no upside. In the books they read, the mentors they sought, the quiet reflection they practiced daily. The crisis merely turned on the light and showed everyone the room they had been building all along. You are always building a room. The question is, what does it look like when the light finally comes on? To build that room with intention requires a resource more precious than willpower. It requires focus. Undiluted, uninterrupted focus. You must protect it like it is the last clean water on earth, because in our world, focus is under siege. It is pulled at, fractured, and sold for pennies. Every notification, every open tab, every quick check is a tax on your concentration, and concentration is the laser that etches your patterns into your life. Distraction is the fog that prevents the etching. It leaves your life blank, unformed, reactive. The battle for your best life is won or lost in these micro moments of choice. Do you pick up the phone or do you pick up the book? Do you open the social app or do you open the document? Do you follow the itch of curiosity or do you stay on the path? These are not neutral choices. They are votes. They are votes for the person you are becoming. And the person you become is simply the collection of votes you've cast over time, so you must build gates, you must build walls, you must create a sanctuary for your attention. This is not about being rigid. It is about being respectful of your own potential. You would not let strangers wander into your workshop and move your tools, break your instruments. Why do you let the digital world do exactly that to your mind? Your mind is your workshop. Guard the door. This guarding allows for the sequence, the growth sequence. This is the engine of all progress that lasts. It is not a single burst of inspiration. It is a cycle. Learn, apply, evaluate, correct. Persist. First, you learn. You take in a principle, a technique, a piece of knowledge. But learning in isolation is decoration. It is a trophy on a shelf. It must lead to the second step, application. You must use it. You must get your hands dirty. You must attempt to execute. However clumsily in the real world, this attempt creates data. Real, honest data, which leads to the third step, evaluation. You must look at the outcome of your application with ruthless objectivity. Not with self-criticism, but with the curiosity of a scientist. What worked? What didn't? Where was the friction? This evaluation is useless without the fourth step, correction. You adjust, you tweak one variable, you tighten one bolt. You change your stance, your wording, your schedule. You refine the approach based on the evidence. Then you persist. You run the cycle again. Learn from the last attempt. Apply the correction. Evaluate the new result. Correct again. This is the loop. This is the grinding wheel that sharpens dull effort into a sharp edge. This loop bypasses motivation entirely. It runs on curiosity and a commitment to process. You are not asking yourself, do I feel like doing this? You are asking, what does the data from my last attempt tell me to try next? It becomes a game, an engaging, challenging game of incremental mastery. This is where discipline quietly replaces motivation. Discipline is not a feeling. It is a decision. It is the decision to run the loop, especially when you don't feel like it. But here is the secret: you don't use raw willpower to force yourself to run the loop. You use systems to make starting the loop easier. Motivation is the match that starts a fire. Discipline is the log you place on the fire to keep it burning. But the system is the fireplace. It is the hearth that contains the fire, that protects it from the wind, that gives it a structure to burn within. Your job is not to be a constant match striker. Your job is to be a builder of hearths, so you design your environment to make the first step of the loop, the learning, or more often, the application, almost automatic. You lay out your clothes the night before, so the first step of a morning run is just putting them on. You open your document first thing, so the first step of writing is just facing a blank page. You schedule the deep work block in your calendar, so the first step is simply honoring the appointment you made with your future self. You reduce the friction for the desired action. You increase the friction for the distraction. You put the phone in another room. You use a website blocker. You create rituals that signal to your brain, it is time to enter the loop. This is the elegance of it. You are not fighting yourself. You are cooperating with your own psychology. You are setting up a game you are likely to win. And each win, each completed loop, builds a tiny piece of evidence. Evidence that you are the kind of person who does this. This is how identity is built. Not through affirmations you shout in the mirror, but through actions you repeat in the quiet. You don't become a writer by saying, I am a writer. You become a writer by writing consistently, and through that consistent action, the identity solidifies. The action precedes the belief. Always. This requires a particular kind of patience, not a passive waiting, a strategic patience, an understanding of seasons. There is a season for planting. This is the season of input, of learning, of trying new things, of placing seeds in the ground. It is messy. It is uncertain. You put work in and you see nothing. No green shoot, just dirt. Then there is a season for growth. This happens beneath the surface. The roots are spreading. The plant is gathering strength unseen. This is the season of consistent application of the loop. You are doing the work, but the results are not yet visible. This is where most people quit. They mistake the season of growth for a season of failure. They dig up the seed to check if it's still there, and in doing so, they kill it. Then, finally, there is a season for harvest. This is when the results become visible. The fruit appears. The market recognizes your value. The weight is lost. The skill is mastered. The revenue grows. This is the season everyone sees, but it was made possible by the 2 seasons that came before it. You cannot rush the harvest. You can only faithfully tend to the process during planning and growth. Strategic patience is knowing what season you are in and acting accordingly. It is not hoping for a harvest during the planting time. It is planning during the planting time. Within these seasons, the mechanism of refinement is feedback. You must have a way to measure, not to judge yourself, but to navigate. A ship captain has instruments, a compass, a star chart, a speed log. They are not constantly criticizing the ship for being off course. They are constantly checking the instruments and making small corrections. That is the purpose of measurement. It is not a report card. It is a steering mechanism. So you define what a good day looks like in terms of process, not outcome. Did you run the loop? Did you protect your focus? Did you apply the correction from yesterday? That is a good day. The outcome is a lagging indicator. It will come. But you steer by the process. You measure the inputs you control. This takes the emotional roller coaster out of the journey. A bad outcome is not a failure. It is a data point. It is a correction signal from the universe telling you to adjust your approach. And as you do this day after day, a powerful force begins to work in your favor. Momentum. The compounding effect. The first time you do the hard thing, it is incredibly difficult. It requires immense energy to overcome inertia. But once you do it, the next time is slightly easier. The path is now slightly more worn. The third time is easier still. You are not just doing the action, you are greasing the groove. You are creating a neural pathway that becomes more efficient each time you use it. This is the flywheel effect. Imagine a massive, heavy flywheel. At first, pushing it is exhausting. You push with all your might and it barely moves. You push again and again. Each push adds a little more speed. The effort doesn't necessarily decrease, but the result of each effort increases. The wheel moves a little faster. Then, at a certain point, momentum takes over. The wheel's own weight and spin begin to work for you. It becomes almost self-sustaining. A small push now creates a massive result. That is the power of consistency. You are not just adding effort, you are building momentum. The habits themselves begin to carry you forward. The system begins to fuel itself. The discipline of your morning routine gives you more energy, which makes you more effective in your work, which creates better results, which builds confidence, which makes it easier to be disciplined tomorrow. The flywheel spins. One positive action compounds into another. You are no longer fighting against gravity. You are working with momentum. This is how a breakthrough ceases to be a singular, dramatic event. It becomes a lifestyle, becomes the natural output of a system that is humming. The emotional experience shifts from anxiety and grinding effort to a quiet confidence, a sense of traction, a feeling of being in the flow of your own design. You stop waiting for a change to happen to you. You become the source of the change. You are not climbing a mountain desperate to reach the peak. You are becoming the mountain, solid, enduring, growing slowly from within. The elevation you saw is your new base camp, and from there you see the next horizon, not with exhaustion but with clarity, because the process itself, the loop, the system, the flywheel has become your home. It is no longer a means to an end. It is the way you live, and in that way of living you find a freedom that motivation could never promise. The freedom of not having to wonder if you'll do the work. The freedom of knowing the work is already part of the design. It will happen. Not because you feel like it, but because you built a life where it is what comes next. That is the ultimate victory. Not a trophy, but architecture. Not a finish line, but a foundation. You have built something that lasts. And in doing so, you have built a self that can last, a self that is reliable, a self that is disciplined, not by force, but by design. And that is a person who can build anything. Not in a burst of will, but in the steady, undeniable accumulation of days done right. That person is not a mythical figure. It is a possible future version of you engineered by the decisions you make today. Right now, in this very moment, you are standing at the control panel of that engineering project. The levers are in front of you. They are labeled not with grand, sweeping commands, but with small, simple adjustments. The lever for your morning environment. The lever for your phone's notifications. The lever for the first 5 minutes of your most important task. Your hand is on them. The question is, will you move them? Will you make the tiny calibration that changes the entire machine's output? Think of it this way. A ship crossing an ocean is off course 99% of the time. The waves push it. The wind blows it. Currents pull it. The captain's job is not to achieve perfect straight line sailing. That is impossible. The captain's job is constant correction, a slight turn of the wheel, A small adjustment of the sails, a minor course correction made consistently based on the compass, that is how you cross oceans. That is how you cross the distance between where you are and where you want to be. You will be off course constantly. The distractions, the unexpected events, the low energy days, these are the waves and the wind. Your discipline, your system, is your hand on the wheel. Your commitment to the loop is your constant glance at the compass. You correct. And you correct again. And over the vast distance, those corrections average out into a straight line. The perfect line seen on the map was not sailed perfectly. It was corrected perfectly. This is the profound acceptance you must make. You will not be perfect. Your system will not be perfect. You will have days where the loop breaks, where the focus scatters, where you choose the path of more resistance because you are tired. That is not failure, that is data. That is a wave hitting the ship. It is not a reason to abandon the voyage. It is a reason to tighten your grip on the wheel, check your compass, and make the next correction. The system is resilient not because it never fails, but because it has a built-in mechanism for recovery. The very next decision is a chance to get back on course. The very next action is a chance to re-enter the loop. Do not waste energy on guilt for being off course. Spend all your energy on the skill of correcting. This skill, this mastery of correction, is rooted in self-awareness without self-flagellation. It is the ability to observe your own behavior as if you were a coach watching an athlete. You see the stumble. You note it. The stance was too wide. You do not scream at the athlete that they are a failure. You simply say, next time, bring your feet in slightly. Then you have them run the drill again. Be your own coach. Be a good one. A coach who sees the potential, believes in the fundamentals, and corrects the errors with clarity and calm. The coach's voice in your head should be the most authoritative, yet the most compassionate voice you hear. It is firm, but it is on your side. It is focused on the next play, not the last mistake. To hear that voice, you must create silence. You must create pockets of space between stimulus and response. This is where your power lies. In that space, when the notification dings, there is a sliver of time before your hand moves. When the alarm goes off, there is a moment before you hit snooze. When you feel the urge to check the news, instead of starting the work, there is a breath. That breath is your kingdom. That sliver of time is your realm of absolute authority. In that space, you can insert the question of the system, not the question of feeling. You do not ask, do I want to get up? You ask, what does the person I am becoming do now? You do not ask, am I in the mood to work? You ask, what is the first tiny action of my pre-defined process? You bypass the debate with your mood. You engage the protocol. You run the script you wrote for yourself when you were clear-eyed and intentional. Writing that script is the ultimate act of self-governance. It is you, from a place of wisdom, giving instructions to you in a future moment of weakness. It is a kindness. It is like leaving a map for yourself when you know you might be lost. So, you must write the map. You must design the protocol. What is the exact sequence for a focused work hour? What is the exact response to a distracting thought? What is the exact ritual to end your day and prepare for tomorrow? The more detail you provide, the less decision fatigue you will experience. Decision fatigue is the drain on willpower. By pre-deciding, you conserve that energy for the corrections, for the creative leaps within the work itself. You are not constantly deciding what to do. You are simply executing the last intelligent decision you made. This transfers the cognitive load from your conscious mind, which is easily tired and swayed by emotion, to your environment and your routines. Your conscious mind is the strategist. It should not be the foot soldier. The strategist designs the battle plan. The foot soldier executes the drills. In this analogy, your habits, your environment, your systems, these are the well-trained foot soldiers. They follow orders. Your conscious mind gives the orders once during the design phase. Then it is free to think about higher-level problems, to observe the battlefield, to make strategic adjustments. But it is not in the trenches fighting the same battle of should I or shouldn't I every single hour. That is a waste of a general. So many people live as if they are a foot soldier being micromanaged by a distracted, emotional, and tired general. No wonder there is chaos. No wonder there is exhaustion. You must promote yourself. You are the general. Act like one. Survey the territory of your life. Identify the key battles that need to be won to achieve your objective. Then design the drills for your troops, your habits. Train them relentlessly through repetition. Then deploy them. And then, as the general, your job is to monitor the campaign, look at the intelligence reports, your feedback and measurements, and decide where to allocate more resources or where to change tactics. Your job is not to personally fire every bullet. Your job is to ensure the system of firing is flawless. This perspective creates a detachment that is necessary for longevity. You are not your failures. You are the commander analyzing why a unit failed to take a hill. Was it the rain, the training, the timing? You adjust. You send them again. There is no drama. There is only analysis and new action. This is how you build resilience that is not brittle. Brittle resilience is white-knuckling through hardship until you snap. True resilience is flexibility. It is the ability to absorb a blow, to bend, to return to form because the underlying structure is sound. A tall, rigid oak may snap in a storm. The bamboo bends, and when the storm passes, it is still standing, rooted, ready to grow. Your systems are your root structure. Your commitment to the process is your flexibility. You bend, you do not break. Now, let's speak about the enemy of this entire architecture. It is not laziness, it is not lack of talent. It is the illusion of complexity. We often avoid starting because we imagine the task in its final, complete, overwhelming form. We see the finished book, the six-pack abs, the million-dollar business, and the distance between here and there seems impossible. So we freeze. The system defeats this by making you blind to the mountain. It asks you only to place one stone. Right now, just one, then another. You are not building a wall, you are just placing the stone carefully, neatly, and then the next. The system reduces the scale of your focus from the monumental to the momentary, from the impossible future to the very possible present moment. This is why your habits must start absurdly small. So small that they feel almost trivial. So small that willpower is not even required. You want to read more. The habit is not read for an hour a day. The habit is open the book and read one paragraph. That's it. The barrier to entry is zero. You will likely read more. But even if you only read the paragraph, you have succeeded. You have maintained the habit. You have kept the chain unbroken. You have placed the stone. The momentum comes from consistency, not volume. Volume is a byproduct of consistency over time. First, make the action inevitable, then make it scalable. But you cannot scale what doesn't exist. Make it exist in its tiniest, most sustainable form. Protect that tiny flame from the wind with all your might. Then, and only then, can you add fuel. This principle applies to every domain. Fitness, put on your workout shoes. Just put them on. That is the habit. Writing, open the document and write one sentence. Business, identify one single small next action for your most important project and do it. The power is in the ritual of starting. The starting ritual triggers the rest. But you are only committed to the ritual, not the entire performance. You are just committing to stepping onto the stage. Once you're there, it is far easier to deliver your lines. Over time, this changes your relationship with time itself. Most people see time as the enemy. It is the thing that runs out, the thing that pressures them, the thing they never have enough of. When you operate from a system, time becomes your ally. It becomes the field in which your compounding actions grow. You are not fighting against the clock. You are collaborating with the calendar. You are not asking, can I do this in time? You are stating, with consistent application of the loop over this span of time, the result is inevitable. You trade the anxiety of a deadline for the confidence of a timeline. You understand that certain things simply require a certain number of repetitions, a certain number of cycles. You stop rushing the harvest. You start trusting the season. This trust is the bedrock of a calm mind. Hustle culture glorifies the frantic, the burned out, the person running on fumes and adrenaline. That is not sustainable. That is not mastery. Mastery is calm. Mastery is the deep, quiet river that cuts canyons, not the noisy flash flood that erodes the topsoil and is gone. Your energy should be a deep river, fed by consistent springs. Your non-negotiable habits of sleep, nutrition, movement, and focused work. You manage your energy even more than you manage your time, because with boundless energy, you can make more of your time. But with depleted energy, even an empty schedule is a prison of fatigue. So, you must systemize your recovery as diligently as you systemize your production. This is the balance. The rhythm, work and rest are not opposites, they are partners in a cycle. One enables the other. High quality, focused work creates the need for and justifies deep, guilt-free rest. And high-quality, intentional rest fuels the capacity for more focused work. They are two sides of the same coin. You cannot have a system for output without a system for input. Your body and mind are the machine. You must maintain the machine. This is not a deviation from discipline. This is the highest form of it. It is the discipline to stop when the work is done for the day, to protect your sleep, To move your body not as punishment but as maintenance, to feed yourself food that serves your long-term function. This is the operating system for a human being who is built to last. When you view yourself as a system to be maintained and optimized, emotion loses its veto power. A low mood is just a piece of data. It might mean you need more rest, or it might mean you need to push through with the protocol. But it does not get to cancel the day's plan. The plan is based on strategy, not sentiment. You acknowledge the mood. I see that I feel tired and unmotivated. And then you turn to your pre-committed actions. Nevertheless, the next action is to put on my running shoes. You act your way into a new feeling. You do not wait to feel your way into a new action. This is the ultimate reversal of the common approach. The common approach is passive. It waits for the right feeling to inspire the right action. The systematic approach is active. It uses the right action to generate the right feeling. It understands that action is the cause, and feeling is often the effect. Confidence is the effect of accumulated competence, not the cause of it. Motivation is often the effect of making progress, not the prerequisite for it. You jumpstart the engine by pushing the car, not by waiting for it to start on its own. So you push with a small action, and then the engine sputters to life. And then you have momentum, and then the feeling catches up. This is why the first few minutes of any difficult task are the hardest. You are pushing the car. Once it's rolling, it becomes easier to steer, to keep moving. Your system is designed to get you through those first few minutes of pushing. The prepared environment, the tiny starting ritual, the pre-committed decision. All of it is engineered to overcome initial inertia. Let's talk about identity in this context because it is the final, deepest layer. As you consistently execute these small actions, you are not just checking boxes, you are casting votes. Each time you choose the system over the impulse, you are casting a vote for your new identity. At first, the old identity, the one that is inconsistent, easily distracted, ruled by mood, has a majority of votes. It's been winning elections for years. Your new votes feel insignificant, but you keep casting them, one by one. Day by day, you are not trying to win the election today. You are trying to shift the electorate over time. And then one day, a threshold is crossed, the new identity gains a majority, it becomes who you are. You are no longer someone trying to be disciplined. You are a disciplined person. This is not arrogance. It is a simple factual statement based on observable evidence. A disciplined person is not someone who never wavers. A disciplined person is someone whose default setting, their automatic response in most situations, is to follow their systems. It is their home base. They may leave it, but they have a strong homing instinct to return. This shift is profound. The internal struggle diminishes. The question changes from, will I do this? To, how will I do this? The debate is over. The course is set. This identity becomes your compass in uncharted territory. When a new challenge arises, you don't have to search for motivation. You simply ask, what would a disciplined person do here? What system would they set up? What small action would they take first? You have an internal template. You have a standard to operate from. This is how you scale yourself. You are not reinventing the wheel with every new project. You are applying your template, your learn, apply, evaluate, correct, persist loop to a new domain. The domain changes, the method remains. You become reliably effective, not just in one area, but as a fundamental trait of your character. This is the legacy you are building. Not just a legacy of outcomes, the books written, the business is built, the body's transformed. Those are wonderful byproducts. The real legacy is the architecture of yourself. You are building a person who can be trusted. By others, yes. But more importantly, by yourself. You become someone who keeps promises to yourself. That trust is the foundation of all true self-esteem. It is not based on outcomes, which can be fickle. It is based on process, which you control. With certainty that you will show up for yourself. That is an unshakable core. So where do you begin? You begin by auditing your current architecture. Look at your environment with new eyes. Where does it make the wrong thing easy and the right thing hard? That is your first design flaw. Identify one single flaw, just one, the most obvious one. Perhaps it is your phone charging next to your bed, making distraction the first and last thing of your day. That is a lever. Move it. Change the charging station to another room. That is a system change. It requires a one-time decision. It requires zero daily willpower. It will yield a daily benefit. Then choose one tiny habit, one that serves your most important goal. Make it so small it is laughable. Commit to it not for a year, not for a month, but for 5 days. Just 5 days. Execute it perfectly for 5 days. Protect it like it is the only thing that matters. Because in those 5 days, You are not just building a habit, you are building the skill of habit building. You are practicing the meta skill. After 5 days, evaluate how did it feel. What friction did you encounter? Correct. Then persist for another 5. You are running the loop on the loop itself. This is the work. It is not glamorous. It is not dramatic. It is the work of an engineer, a gardener, a captain, a general, an architect. It is the quiet work of design, and it is available to you right now. The tools are simple. The principles are clear. The only variable is your application. Will you move the lever? Will you place the stone? Will you cast the vote? The myth told you that you needed to feel ready. The truth is that readiness is a consequence of starting. The myth told you that you needed a surge of willpower. The truth is that willpower is a reserve to be conserved, not a muscle to be constantly flexed. The myth told you that consistency is about never missing. The truth is that consistency is about missing and then returning without drama to the protocol. The myth told you to wait for the right conditions. The truth is that you must build the conditions, and in building them, you become the right person. You have the blueprint now. The materials are your days, your hours, your minutes. Your attention is your most valuable currency. Spend it on building your foundation. Spend it on running the loop. Spend it on protecting your focus. Spend it on making the next correction. Do this, and over time, you will not have to chase success. You will have become the kind of person for whom success is a natural byproduct. You will have built a life that is not reliant on the fleeting wind of motivation, but powered by the steady, reliable engine of discipline by design. And that engine will carry you further than any gust of wind ever could. It will carry you all the way to the horizon, and then show you the next one.